In Taylorsville, Utah, Tuesday, the early morning hours of Tuesday, September 20th of 2022. Officers were dispatched to a Taylorsville home near the 4800 South and 3400 West block, for an assault call. A local resident called 911 at 3:50 a.m. Okay?
You don't have the date, you just know it was a Tuesday in September?
Yeah, September 20th.
Oh,
Tuesday, September 20th,
you're right.
2022.
You did say that.
So, when cops rolled up here, okay, taking a call like that's pretty vague. When cops roll up here, they found 2 adults in their 30s to 40s laying outside of the house with over 40 stab wounds.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, when I first started reading this, obviously with all the stabbing cases we've covered recently, I was like, what is this? And there are some wild details to this, you guys, like some really wild details. Now, the downside is they very, very clearly have the suspect of who did it, okay?
Why is that the downside?
Because the suspect is under 18.
Oh.
So, not a lot of details we can give out. I'm using an alias. I'm going to call him John, just something basic. But this was a 15-year-old kid.
What was that his parents?
No, it was not. So,
cops
roll up, find 2 adults in their 30s to 40s laying outside with a ton of stab wounds. They're standing out there with one of their neighbors who had called, 2 neighbors, the husband and wife, who had called 911. Who were those 2 people? The cops find out that those 2 people are JJ and Ashley Dasher, all right? Who also, side note, have a 10-year-old child who is on the spectrum, okay?
Gosh.
And in the house, and get this, during the whole commotion, and we'll get to that part, during the whole commotion, luckily that child doesn't wake up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, incredible. In a bad situation, you just look for a little bit of light, I guess.
At least he didn't have to witness that.
Right. I can't imagine being
10?
10 on the spectrum.
Even just 10.
Well, the reason why I say on the spectrum is so
Yeah.
important because they need the same atmosphere and people
Right.
around them, and like these are their people, man. This is their family. These are their people that they depend on and find comfort in, and there's a bond there that they could never have with anyone else. They've been together their entire life, you know what I mean? So just seeing something like that, I'm sure that would have been something that stayed with them forever. So, what happened, right? Let's get down to what happened here that caused these 2 adults to be laying outside with over 40 stab wounds. And this has some oddly similar details to other knife cases, but I think there are some very important differences here too. So we have a 15-year-old boy, okay, named John for this story. Now, John doesn't have any criminal past. Super strange in my opinion. John goes to sleep that night like normal bedtime hours, and wakes up at 1 a.m., okay? And this is John's firsthand account. No one knows but John, right? So validity behind this, who knows? But it seems genuine, but you never know who's a true sociopath, who's not. Nature versus nurture. There's only so much of his past we can get. So he wakes up at 1 a.m., bam, and sweating, shaky, and has an unpalatable urge to hurt somebody. His description: can't think of anything else but hurting somebody, almost like a trance-like state, all right? So he explains to the cops in a statement later that he gets up, starts getting dressed like he's going to school, but he was aware enough to put on all dark, all black colors, grabs a bag, goes and grabs his dad's pocket knife and grabs a huge knife out of the kitchen. Okay, so he has 2 knives in his hands with his backpack on like he's going to school in all dark clothing. Hits the street and starts what sounds like to me hunting, okay? And really strange coming from a kid with no violent background and history or anything like that, at least that I can tell. Normally when you have a child who is a part of a crime like this, there will be some kind of background and history, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he goes out hunting, and one of the things he does is he starts checking car door handles, starts checking house doorknobs, and this is why we always say, and we've covered quite a few cases where lock your doors, you guys. Lock your doors. Get cameras if you can, but absolutely lock your doors, right? Always. So,
Seriously.
he goes around checking doorknobs, okay? And he goes on to say he's never felt an urge like this. The entire time this was going on, he was shaking and jittery and almost felt like he wasn't in control of himself. Really, really strange,
Like
right?
life's a video game, like he's disassociated.
Kind of, yeah. That's one of the things that I was wondering too. But my lack of experience, like we know quite a bit about psychology, not to where I'm a psychologist or anything, just
an
personal
armchair
interest. Yeah.
psychologist, yeah.
And is that a common thing? You know, does somebody go into mania that causes them to wake up, be disconnected from reality to the point where a situation like this could happen? I don't know. But so he's checking doorknobs and car doors, and somebody sees him, okay? And he's out at right around 3 a.m. at this point. And he runs. Somebody says, "Hey, stop." He runs, and he has 2 knives, one in each hand, gets scared because the kitchen knife is a giant knife, like the big kitchen knife. You know, everyone out there who's watching, you guys know what the big kitchen knife is, the one you grab for cutting cakes and things like that. You know what I mean?
Cakes.
So, yeah, cakes.
That's what you use it for?
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't, you know? Gosh. So he runs from the person and then pushes it into the ground, buries this knife, which after reading this, I am so glad that happened, okay? So he shoves that knife into the ground, goes back to checking door handles and knobs. From everything that I could tell, it seemed like he was out there for about an hour and a half doing this. He comes across JJ and Ashley Dasher's house, and their doors unlocked, and it's never unlocked, they said. This was a one-night off situation where they must have forgot to lock it.
Ugh.
Yeah. So he enters the house quietly and tries to get a feel of the house. You know, he's never been in there. He's never met these people before, which is another weird situation. That is so uncommon. So waking up with a desire to just hurt somebody and then go and search for random houses without knowing what's going to be on the other side of that door, it's just a really strange situation. So he enters the home. He starts like getting acclimated to the house, you know, kind of figuring, I assume, putting myself in that headspace, I assume you're trying to figure out where the doors are, you know, walking through.
Where are the people?
Or that, yeah. As he's walking through, he finds like a dish that has keys in it, a $20 bill. He doesn't say it's one of those everything dishes that you empty your pockets in, but it had car keys. It had a $20 bill in it. I assume that's when you walk in a house, you take out your keys and plop, you know?
Yeah.
Your wallet, whatever. He grabs the $20 bill, he grabs the keys, and he continues looking through the house. And After getting a rough understanding of the layout of the house, he said he felt an urge that it was time. And he charges to the master bedroom with his dad's pocket knife out, small pocket knife. Again, I am so happy somebody saw him and he buried that knife, stuck it in the ground. But he charges into the bedroom, and that wakes up JJ. JJ, he said that the only thing he can remember is he just felt something was off and woke up
like
right away.
Something's coming.
Yeah, and woke up out of a dead sleep and immediately saw him. And at least based off JJ's account, and it even gives me chills talking about it, JJ, without thinking, okay, like the kid had just got into their room. Without even thinking, they literally charge at each other. So
Whoa.
JJ says, "Get out!" And John, who we're calling John, the 15-year-old boy, yells at the top of his lungs, "Die! Die!" And he goes to start stabbing this guy. This is a full-grown man, and you guys will have seen pictures as we're talking through this. He doesn't look like he's out of shape or anything. He looks like he is in pretty good shape, for a guy that's in his 40s. And he's dealing with a 15-year-old boy, which again makes me wonder if it's like a mental issue, because a lot of times in mania, you guys, your brain can override our auto restraints on our muscles. So I forget what the exact stat is, but I think that we only use like 40 or 50% of what our muscles can do, because our body protects our bones and muscles from extreme tears and things like that. So when you're going through a psychotic break, though, your brain can override that. So you're way stronger than you are. That's why you hear of people that are on, PCP that have 10 officers fighting them, because it's overridden that, and they have double the strength they normally would, literally throwing men across the parking lot or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they charge each other, and JJ is doing everything he can to fight this kid off. This kid is stabbing him. JJ yells to his wife, "Get out of here, get out of here." And JJ's at least hurt enough to be dropped to the ground. The wife runs past him to go run outside and call 911, and John, the kid, turns and runs right after her. Ugh. And immediately, as soon as she passes him, he turns and starts stabbing her. And unfortunately, she gets the worst of it in this situation. And she runs from the master bedroom, okay, all the way down the hall, left out of the house, all the way across the street to a neighbor's house. Maybe a light was on there. Maybe that is the closest house. I'm not sure. But the entire time, the kid is running behind her, stabbing her the entire
That's what I was
time,
gonna ask.
dude. That I'm assuming, just guessing in my head, that's at least 15 or 20 seconds. He is nonstop running behind her and stabbing her. She ends up having over 20 wounds, in herself.
So not just chasing, like literally stabbing her as they're both running?
Yes, as the John and Ashley is running, yes. And she gets over to the neighbor's house and is screaming, "Help, help, help, help." Knocking on the door, hitting the doorbell. And the kid continues just laying into her. An over excessive amount, but luckily the neighbor wakes up, the husband and wife couple, and he goes to the door, because I can only assume, being that neighbor, if I woke up to that, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on here,
can't
dude?"
even imagine.
Yeah, like 911 would already be called before I got there. That'd be like, "Phone, let's go check it out," phone, gun, go. But he gets to the door and sees what's going on, and she had collapsed by then. and is leaning up against his front door.
Oh.
He can't open the door to get to her. John is still attacking her. A horrible, horrible, horrible situation. So the neighbor, being a great neighbor, super brave in my opinion, runs around the side, around his house and to the front, and is on the phone with 911, and John gets scared off, and John takes off, all right? So 911 is on their way, and this is where 911 then encounters JJ and Ashley. They go to work on JJ and Ashley first, okay? So they prioritize the victims, which amazing job. I think sometimes cops can get in the habit of chasing the victim first, not the suspect first, just because that's like what they do most of the time. You know, well, this cop, and it says in the article that he intentionally stayed back to help them, which is amazing, and gets the paramedics there, and they start working on them, which they both survive.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they both survive this situation. John takes off, and the cops go to work, right? And both of them are sent to the hospital and airlifted. Both of them go through surgery, and both of them eventually recoup from their wounds. And I'll slice in a video here of them talking.
JJ Dasher was sound asleep Tuesday morning when he says something stirred him awake.
I kind of half opened my eyes and there was a figure just standing right over her bed.
At first, he thought he was dreaming.
I immediately just flew out of bed screaming and started punching him, but at the same time he's stabbing me.
JJ says he was stabbed 12 times. His right lung collapsed. Then the attacker turned on his wife, Ashley.
I screamed at her to run. She ran out of the house towards the neighbors. He was still stabbing her as she was running all the way to the neighbor's porch, still stabbing her.
Luckily, Ashley's screams woke up the Hathaways next door.
She came screaming, and that's what woke us up, so we jumped out of bed, immediately called 911.
Police arrived within a minute, and the attacker fled. An hour later, officers took a 15-year-old boy into custody. Ashley says she would have died on her neighbor's porch if they hadn't acted so fast.
They weren't there. Like, this piece so different, but I'm really thankful for them.
Every night, the Dashers lock their front door before going to bed, except for this past Monday. They tell us the 15-year-old just let himself into their home because the door was unlocked.
We just turned out we forgot that night. But now we're going to definitely be more diligent, probably set up some more security.
After being in the hospital for more than 2 days, the Dashers just want to be with their 10-year-old son.
He's nonverbal autistic, and luckily he just slept through it. Even though it was extremely loud.
If JJ could talk to the teen who randomly decided to attack him and his wife, he says he would just ask one question: why?
I don't think I'm mad at him. He must be in an unfortunate situation. I don't know if it's mental health issues, abusive household. I don't know.
With JJ on the mend, he may be discharged as early as Thursday night. Ashley will likely stay in the hospital for a few more days. In Taylorsville, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Wow, what a story. The Dashers have started a GoFundMe to cover the medical costs for both of their surgeries. You can find a link for that on our website.
Look like your average couple. What a horrible situation to not know this person and have a situation like this happen with your son, who already depends on you and has all that going on.
I cannot believe with them screaming like that and everything you just said that he slept through it. Like, that is the deepest sleeper ever.
I know. Even I probably would have woke up, and I'm a pretty deep sleeper. So the cops immediately, once they get the victims taken care of in this situation, they call everything. So they get dogs out here, they get drones out here, and they go to work. They block off the road. They start trying to track where he's at. Dogs pick up scents. They start searching everywhere. Get drones in the air, and they find him at a parking lot, and they approach with caution, and they're able to take him over. So with no additional harm to him, no additional harm to anyone else, he ends up turning himself in.
So he surrendered.
He surrendered. Yeah, he willingly surrendered, and the cops put that in there, which for me, trying to connect dots here, it's really strange. So this is in Utah, you guys, right? Yeah, Utah. So this is in Utah. So still kind of that northwestern area that we're seeing a lot of stabbings coming out of, kind of, in that general area. Right. Which is why this stood out to me, because we've been working on the Northwest slasher here that you guys will see that I know, super funny in the video. I called it Northeast Slasher like 3 times, but I corrected it on the video, all right? But I had been doing research into this and trying to connect more dots and see, are there other areas? Is this truly only 1, 2, and potentially 3, right? Or could this be somebody traveling? The more evidence you have, the more likely you are to make a connection in these cases. And who knows, maybe you drop off Idaho 4 and there are other cases that can be connected, and all these can be, solved through that. You never know. But in my research, I find this. And I thought this was incredible and made me ask a whole bunch of questions of why. This kid's statement is very strange, not having a whole lot of criminal history, or from what I could see, not knowing these people. Those are two uncommon situations. And then waking up out of a dead sleep and just wanting to hurt somebody.
So you said he has no criminal past. He's only 15, so that's not like... I mean, what he did is crazy no matter what, obviously, and waking up out of dead sleep and wanting to hurt somebody. But, okay, he doesn't have a criminal past, but does he have, infractions on his school record? Was he getting mental health help? Was he a troubled child emotionally? I want to know all those things.
Look, I tried to find some of those things, and I also looked at the area, because sometimes you can tell, is this kid living in a bad area? And I looked all around there and I couldn't find anything that looks bad. That doesn't mean anything. Just to be clear, you guys, I know that doesn't mean anything. You could have a house that looks put together like Ruby Frankie and have trauma going on inside and abuse going on inside. I understand that, but those are one of the key indicators that you can look for visually that could give you a better understanding. Are they around a hard life? Are they around hard people,
Yeah.
And none of that's going on from what I could tell. Now, with him being under 18, I couldn't get a whole lot of information. But some of the questions I did have was, we have an insane amount of knife crimes that are coming up in that general area of the U.S. from what I can tell. Yeah. And why? Is there things being talked about that aren't known to police? Does this kid have a friend, and that friend's brother is a part of something that has implanted an idea in his head? Because just imagine, you guys, that somebody didn't say, hey, stop, and he put that knife away. These 2 people would have been gone. Yeah. I hope you guys understood how thin that line was, that this could be a Sandra Ladd situation, a Jamie Lynn and Travis Jutin situation,
a double homicide,
an Idaho 4 situation. If he had 2 knives, would he have ended both people?
And then the boy.
And moved to the boy? And would this have gone to another house? Would he have snapped out of whatever this trance-like state he's claiming he was in, and got away with it? Do we know these things? And there's no way to know. But it makes me wonder, is there talk in the air that people are hearing that are causing some kind of curiosity? You know what I mean? What is causing this statistical improbability in this area of the U.S.?
You got me.
Me too.
I
I'm
can't
trying
even-
to figure it out here, and I hope you guys have some ideas. I would love to hear about it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Clearly, this person was caught, and it's far enough away from Sandra Ladd, the Jutons, Idaho 4. There is no connection with him there, right? Because then I started thinking, oh, wait, are there other crimes that maybe he did get away with, and this was a weird situation where he didn't have a knife that he wanted? I mean, you know what I mean? Just kind of going through the possibilities here.
Yeah, I also want to know, are there any other people who claim to have woken up out of a dead sleep and went and committed a crime or had urges to hurt people? Like, is there some kind of psychological condition? Like, what
That
could cause
psychologists
that?
could look out
And
for or
yeah.
identify. Yeah.
Like, is it
that's-
a schizophrenia thing, which doesn't make sense because he's only 15? Like, what could that be on a psychological level? Like, could there be something there with that could cause something like that? Was he possessed by a freaking demon? Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just checking all
Or-
the boxes going, yeah.
Okay, this is going way tin hat, okay? Like crazy tin hat.
Yeah.
But there's people, okay, that I've seen that supposedly works for military and government that claim they have those beams that can beam thoughts into your head.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know. There's no way to confirm something like that
No,
without
but it's like
having a
way
machine.
tin hat. But
Yeah.
that does pop in my mind.
No,
like, is that a
absolutely.
possibility?
Absolutely. I think that ideas like that should come up in these situations. More than likely, though, I think we're looking at a mental health issue. I
Yeah.
think you're right on that first one. But it's interesting, and I want to know more in these situations too, because is there something going on in society? Is there something going on with media? Could it be something related to tech use? Could it, there's a ton of different factors that are relatively new to the human race that could these things be heightening these types of behaviors? We see a major increase in knife crime, which is super uncommon in this way, in this specific way. There's a big difference between like getting into a bar fight and somebody has a knife on them and somebody gets stabbed, or somebody actively going out in the cover of dark with the intention of hurting someone in a murder one type way, and that is a very uncommon, that mass murder type style knife crime is very uncommon, and we're seeing it over and over and over and over again. And I mean, Sandra Ladd, Jamie Lynn Juton was not that long ago. It was 1 year back, and then 1 year back from that. It's been within the last 5 years.
Yeah, from Idaho 4. So 2020, 2021 were their murders.
Yeah. It makes me wonder,
this was
what
2020?
is this? 2022.
Oh.
2022.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
A
Whoa.
15-year-old, 2022.
15 is wild.
And that's another thing that stood out to me, too, is we were theorizing. So just pretending here, right, with the knife crimes, the Northwest slasher crimes, if those three were connected that we talked about, Sandra Ladd, the Jutons, and Idaho 4, could it be a situation, because the Idaho 4 is so much further, even though there's a lot of other related stats in that when we broke it down on this, could it have been somebody that was under 18 for the first two, went to college, and then Idaho 4 was them in college? You know what I mean?
Oh.
Right. Could that have been the evolution, and this is another start?
See, that's what I was saying. We need to look into Sandra Ladd's grandchildren and see if there's any of them that went to the University of
connection?
Idaho or Pullman, anything like that.
I agree. I think details like that could give us a lot, but I'm curious what you guys think. I am super happy that these two recovered completely, 100% and totally,
thank God.
with no lasting damage after one of them being stabbed over 20 times, you guys. That is incredible they're still here. Everything happened just perfectly for a really bad situation to happen and them come out of it essentially unscathed because they healed. You know what I mean?
Not unscathed, but
Well, not unscathed, but got to a point of healing
They're
where there
alive.
is no leftover damage or issues that they have to deal with.
yeah, that's incredible, especially with him chasing her and stabbing her that many times. Like, it's just, this is like almost, I feel like, unheard of. Like, it's just so
Agreed.
crazy. I'm really glad the boy's okay, that he didn't get hurt and he didn't see anything. But I can't even imagine how they talked to him about it after that. Like, because imagine a child and then finding out someone literally walked
If
in your
they
house and
did.
stabbed your parents. Imagine the paranoia and the fear after that.
I know. If they even let him in, it would depend on where he's at in on the scale. You know what I mean?
It would.
But let us know what you think. Let us know your deepest, darkest tin hat theories on this.
Yeah.
Or help me understand the more psychological aspects that could make sense. What am I missing here? You know, because I'm not an expert in that area. And I lean on a lot of you viewers to help us out, help us understand these things. And I'm going to keep digging and trying to make connections with this crime style. But yeah, let us know.
Mm-hmm.